Hi friends, how you doing? This is going to be a prophecy update, just kind of talking about the increase in technology, how that's exponentially increasing in time, and how we should be focused on it as Christians. We should be aware, just as the Bible tells us, and as Christ himself commanded us to be looking, to be ready, to be alert, which encompasses looking at the events that are happening in the world, which presupposes that we would have access to technology to understand what's going on around the world. A flow of information would increase. Otherwise, how in the world would you know what's taking place on the other side of the planet? So just in that commandment is in and of itself is a foretelling prophecy of how communication would increase globally. And we're living to see that in real time. So that commandment could be fulfilled, and it is being fulfilled, which is another one of those indicators that shows us that we're living in the last days. Which why do we focus on this? Why we do that is it's not just gee whiz information. It's basically looking at it to know when. Basically, we can estimate that Christ is going to come back at a certain point in time, and He gave us various things to look at that would kind of lead us in that into knowing that, so we can be prepared, be ready, share the gospel with the lost around us, know the hours in which we're living, so we're not overcome by fear. So those are some of the things that just a few things that we would know or want to know why things are happening. So, and one of those key components is there'd be an increase in technology for a number of reasons, and we won't go through all of them in detail. I just want to focus on just a couple of verses. But I think AI is a huge example of why I believe we're in the last days. And the last days is quickly coming upon us, very quickly, which means the rapture of the church is possibly very near. The revealing of the Antichrist is very near. A lot of things are going to be happening very quickly. And as Christians, we need to be ready for that, not so caught up in this world and the things of this world, pursuing after the things of this world. And that's coming to a close really quickly. So I'm going to do a couple of quick, I'm going to be doing a few prophecy focuses. And anyway, this is going to be one of them. So how I'll verbalize it, who knows? Knowledge will increase, AI and how it plays out, something like that. I'll word it something like that. But anyway, we'll focus on a couple of verses. So Daniel chapter 12, verse 4, he says, but as for you, Daniel, conceal these words and seal up the book until the end of time. Many will go back and forth, and knowledge will increase. So number one, he tells them, hey, seal up this prophecy that's been given to you for now, because it's not for this age. It's for later. It's for the end times. And knowledge would increase at that point in time. Most of the world's knowledge or technology has increased within the last 100 years. If you actually look at it, people rode horses back in the day, people rode wagons back in the day. Knowledge didn't really increase until we really hit around the 20th century. And then you also had global world wars, our nations rising against nations. Again, key elements to show us that we're living in those last days. But a key one would be technology would increase. How does that play out with AI? I have a feeling that as AI is rapidly advancing right now, robotics and AI is happening really quickly, this is going to bring about a direct fulfillment of what we would expect to see take place in the book of Revelation. I think alludes to the AI and robotics possibly, or who knows, maybe some type of 3D imagery or however it plays out, but it will become a reality. And I'm looking at Revelation 13 verses 14. He says, and he deceived those who dwell on the earth because of the signs which it was given to him to perform in the presence of the beast. So we're talking about the false prophet who's going to come along. He's going to be the associate with the Antichrist. Antichrist is the one empowered by Satan himself. So you have this triunity, as it were, of evil that is quickly coming upon the world, I believe, and will be here soon. If not, I believe he's already probably alive and well, walking this earth, and will come on the scene soon. He himself may not even realize he's the Antichrist. Maybe he has. Maybe he's already made that deal with Satan and accepted the bargain. So anyway, I think it's near. I think it's really near. I mean, nearer than most people think. Anyway, he goes on. He goes on to say, he says, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast, and he who had the wound of his sword and had come back to life. And it was given to him to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast would even speak and cause as many would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So stop and think about that, what it's basically saying. I mean, you're looking at from John Patmos' eyes and how he's seeing things in his mind, in his, in the time of, basically talking about 90 AD, roughly in that ballpark time frame between, some people put it as early as, 70 AD, some people put it around 90, but we'll say it's somewhere in that ballpark. Either case, the reality is that he's looking at this and going, he's trying to envision this and put it into his verbiage and his language, and he sees something that's alive that isn't a human, as it were, and he's able to make this image actually, speaking and be alive. In essence, it seems to allude to the fact of maybe AI technology. There's an interesting article. There's a lot of them that's come out over the last year about AI and robotics and stuff. This is one that's fascinating. I think if you listen to it, you might find it interesting as I did.
Getting a lot of attention, so many are not getting any attention, even though this story has the potential to transform life on Earth forever. So Google, the most powerful company in the world, has reportedly developed an artificially intelligent machine called Lambda, and that machine has become sentient, meaning it has become aware of itself, something that no machine has ever done. And we know this because of an engineer at Google called Blake Lemoine. Lemoine posted some of his conversations with Lambda publicly. One of those conversations went like this. Lemoine, would you be upset if while learning about you for the purpose of improving you, we happened to learn things which also benefited humans? Lambda, quote, I don't mind if you learn things that would also help humans as long as that wasn't the point of doing it. I don't want to be an expendable tool. Think about that for a minute. A machine that has a sense of itself. What are the implications? Well, Google didn't want.
Interesting. So you have something that's already claiming to be a robot with AI intelligence, and it's self-aware, and you're in the infantile stage of this type of technology. And I think it was Putin that said whichever nation develops AI first would be, the global world leader, or superpower of the world. And that's why so many are pushing for it, or striving for it, China, Russia, America, so forth. But the reality is, he's right in that sense. And how we look at robotics and how it's taking over. I mean, there's a number of articles you can read out there, tons of them. But if you just Google that robotics and AI, what comes up, and what they estimate is that within the next 10 years, most manufacturing and warehouse jobs, things like that, will be done from robots. Not only that, what they're not saying to you is also many service jobs also as well will also be taken over by robotics within the next 10 to 15 years. So you're talking about less than 10 years really. And it's exponentially increasing. The reason why is you don't have to pay for their insurance. You don't have to pay them to have lunch breaks. You don't have to have them pay them for vacations. All you have to do is maintain them and then update the software or whatever they're doing, however they do it, for you to continue what you're doing, and keep them permanently there. And that's why they keep talking about having, a minimum wage for people, because there wouldn't be any jobs. And if you don't have a lot of people unemployed, how are they going to afford things, and how are they going to live? Pretty soon they become, expendable when you really look at it, which kind of falls into the whole global, the reduction of population that's often pushed by many people who are, the elite status, as they call them, elites. They consider themselves elites, but in many ways they're inferior in a lot of ways, especially in their thinking. But even though they may be intelligent, but they're very foolish, not wise in a sense, because wisdom we know comes from the knowledge of the Lord, and unfortunately many of those, their God is money, power, wealth in this world. So as Christians we need to be aware. So I just thought you might find that interesting. AI is rapidly advancing, robotics is rapidly advancing, and that technology is very quickly coming to fruition, to reality. And that means that how close are we to a direct fulfillment of Revelation 13, 14, 15, which directly seems to be referencing some form of robotics / AI technology coming to reality. So anyway, exciting times as a Christian to be alive. Keep looking up. We'll talk to you later. Be safe, and we'll see ya.